March 11th, 2005. Niagara Falls City Court, New York. It is a quiet Tuesday morning. Nothing unusual about it at all. 70 people fill the courtroom. Lawyers, court staff, counselors, and 46 defendants, all part of a domestic violence diversion program. Now, these weren't convicted criminals. These were everyday people trying to do the right thing. People who showed up voluntarily every single week as part of an agreement with the court. They came in that morning expecting a completely routine check-in. They had no idea that before lunch, every single one of them would be in handcuffs. A phone rang in court, and 46 innocent people went to jail for it. Niagara Falls City Court wasn't glamorous work. It was domestic cases, traffic violations, minor offenses. But it was his courtroom, his rules. His word was absolute final law. For the first 45 minutes that Tuesday morning, everything ran normally. Cases were called, people stepped forward. The 46 program participants checked in, one by one. Then, at approximately 10 a.m., something beeped. A sound came from somewhere in the back of the courtroom. It wasn't loud. It wasn't disruptive. In any other courtroom, on any other morning, it would have been ignored completely. But not today. Not in Robert Restaino's courtroom. Because Robert Restaino was not okay that morning. He would later tell investigators he was under severe personal stress, that he wasn't himself, that something inside him had already been pulled dangerously tight before he ever took the bench. But nobody in that room knew that. All they knew was that a sound had come from somewhere in the back of the crowd, and the judge stopped everything. Restaino's voice cut through the room. Everyone is going to jail. 70 people looked at each other in total disbelief. Nobody moved. Nobody came forward. Because here is the thing nobody knew in that moment, the thing that makes this story almost impossible to believe. There was no phone. Somewhere in the back of that courtroom, a wristwatch alarm had gone off. A tiny beep from someone's wrist. The kind of sound that happens 100 times a day in 100 different rooms. A young man actually stood up. He told the judge it was his watch. He tried to take total responsibility. He begged Restaino to take him and let everyone else go. Restaino just looked at him. And then he called the first defendant to the bench. One by one. Name by name. Restaino called each of the 46 defendants forward. Each one denied knowing anything about a phone. Each one was handcuffed, and each one was taken away to a cell. The New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct would later call it 2 hours of inexplicable madness. People begged. One defendant stepped forward and said, I just got a job. I love that job. Restaino didn't care. He kept going. Some of these people had children waiting outside in the car. Some had jobs they would lose before the morning was even over. Some had already completed months of the 26-week program. Weeks of counseling. Weeks of court appearances. Weeks of doing exactly what the system asked of them. All of it was shattered because a watch beeped in the back of a room. The commission noted that Restaino, as he sent each innocent person to a cell, alternated between fake sympathy and outright sarcasm. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he kept doing it. By the time it was over, 46 people were behind bars. No charges, no evidence, no legal basis of any kind. Restaino himself would later admit he knew he had absolutely no legal authority to do what he did. He did it anyway. After the last defendant was dragged away, Restaino just went back to work. He continued hearing cases, business as usual, like nothing had happened. It wasn't until a reporter started making phone calls, until the press started asking questions, that Restaino finally ordered the release of the people he had jailed. Not because he had a change of heart, not because he realized he had gone too far, but because the press found out. The commission wrote that it is undisputed that he took no steps to arrange for the defendant's release until he learned that the press was inquiring into his actions. Think about that. 46 innocent people sitting in cells while the man who put them there went back to his bench and kept working. The New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct reviewed everything: the transcripts, the testimonies, the timeline. They voted 9-1 to remove Robert Restaino from the bench forever. The New York Court of Appeals upheld the decision unanimously. Their ruling stated his conduct transcended poor judgment and had no semblance of a lawful basis. He was gone, finished, removed from the only position of power he had ever held. Justice served, story over. Except it isn't. Robert Restaino ran for mayor of Niagara Falls, and he won. The man the judicial system formally removed for abusing power over 46 innocent people is now the elected mayor of a city of 50,000 people. He controls a public budget of hundreds of millions of dollars. He makes decisions that affect tens of thousands of lives every single day. The Commission on Judicial Conduct saw exactly who he was. They wrote it down. They removed him. The voters of Niagara Falls gave him a bigger office. 46 people walked into a courtroom on a Tuesday morning to do the right thing. They left in handcuffs because a watch beeped. The man responsible lost his judgeship and gained a mayoralty. And somewhere in Niagara Falls today, Robert Restaino is making decisions that affect your neighbor, your street, your city. The gavel comes down. It just doesn't always land where you expect. My name is DeadDocket. We drop new cases every single week.